Hey YouTube, I decided to do a video here just because I haven't posted on YouTube in a while. I wanted to detail my game of the year for 2013 and my top 10 games of the last generation. Now it's 2014 already. 2013 wasn't the most amazing year for gaming, but it did give me some of games that I really liked. So let's get right into my game of the year for 2013. Undoubtedly, Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. I almost didn't buy this game, and the main reason I didn't buy it almost was because it looked like too much of a rip-off of A Link to the Past. I was like, so it's kind of a remake of A Link to the Past, but they kind of changed the dungeons, and like I didn't know what to think. I'm like, is that really even worth playing? Like, I'd rather just play A Link to the Past. Like, it just felt like a cheap cash-in, and I just didn't have any interest in it. But a lot of people liked it, and they were saying like, oh, it's like just as good as A Link to the Past, if not better. And I'm like, whatever. So one day I was in Walmart, and I'm like, you know what, screw it. I'm in the mood to play a Zelda, let's get it. And I was pleasantly surprised. It's not exactly like A Link to the Past. I mean, it has the same setting, like the overworld, but everything is different. It feels like a different game. It doesn't feel like a rehash. Everything is totally changed in the world, and not just the dungeons. Like, all the secrets are different, the pathways are different. Trying to find your way to different dungeons and how to even enter a dungeon is sometimes a big trial in that game. And it's more open world. Like, they actually made it open world where you can rent items, so you can just kind of tackle dungeons in any order you want. And I just thought I was like a little smart ass. I'm like, right, I'm going to Death Mountain first. That's the first dungeon I'm doing. I did that, and I was like, freaking awesome. So, yeah, it's an awesome game, and I played the hell out of it. I 100%ed it. It took me about 26 hours to get everything in the game, because I was just exploring every little nook and cranny. Before I did even one dungeon, I explored the entire map, got all like the collectibles and everything, and it's really awesome. I can see that as a game I replay over and over again on the 3DS, which is one of my favorite systems of all time. I love the 3DS. Best handheld system for sure. Not the best system overall, but definitely a great system. So if you don't have a 3DS, pick it up, because this game of the year. Alright, so let's move on to my top 10 games of the generation. This is not like a cement, like in stone, like, you know, call it the print the presses top 10 list. Like, you know, my lists change all the time. I can never stick to a permanent top 10. Let me move my cat out of the way, because he's gonna make me get out of here, kitty. Get out. Anyway, top 10 games and my cat, get the hell out. Get out. Gonna scare him away, because he's gonna like jump in front of the camera or some crap. So yeah, so my top 10 games of the last generation, at least for the moment. These are the games that I really liked, have the fondest memories of, and could go back and play right now. So, without further ado, let's dig in. Don't have any box arts to show you, because I'm not gonna lie, I don't own a lot of these games anymore, or I have them digital. But that's besides the point. Number 10 on my top 10 games of the generation is Portal 2. First got this on the 360. Played some of the single player. It was really cool. It wasn't until I actually played the co-op online with a friend that I really enjoyed. The co-op's really cool. It takes a lot of brain power between you and your friend to figure out how to do stuff, and you really got to work together. It's not like a lot of co-op games where it's kind of like you're both playing single player next to each other. It's like a first-person shooter, like you're both shooting dudes, but you're not really cooperating. In this game, you really have to think together and cooperate together to make it through the puzzles, and they're just really tricky, and by the time you finish it, you just feel like you broke the game almost. It's like, does that really be the way you do it? But it is. And if you have the PC version, which I picked up after the fact, it's basically like an infinite game, because you could just play tons of user-created levels, and some of them are pretty top-notch, so kudos to that game. Alright, number 9 is actually another 2013 release, Dead Space 3. People are probably going to be like, what? But I played all the Dead Space games, and 3 was my favorite. I loved the first game. It was a different game than 3 for sure. But if you're not concerned by what kind of game it is, if it's Dead Space enough or any of that crapola, Dead Space 3 was an awesome game. Mainly made towards co-op, which another Dead Space thing, like, oh, it's scary playing co-op, but whatever. I had a good time. The environments were awesome. I thought it was pretty scary, and the co-op was really fun. I loved upgrading stuff. The weapon creation was just awesome. Graphics, the level, it was just an awesome game. Like, from start to finish, man, that was just an awesome game. That's all I have to say about that. If you want a really good co-op game, get Dead Space 3. Number 8 on my list is Burnout Paradise. A game I played to almost, basically as much completion as humanly possible. The only thing I didn't do was some of the online challenges because they were really strict. You had to be like, you have like exactly 5 players or whatever, and it just wasn't feasible. I couldn't get the right groups together. But besides that, I unlocked all the cars, all the licenses, all the paint jobs, and everything that I could from single player, and some of the multiplayer stuff, and it was just fantastic. I played that for so many hours, like hundreds of hours, and mainly it was my good buddy Lord of Ultima. He was basically my Burnout buddy, and I really, really wish that, I mean, I know that the team at Criterion's in shambles right now, but I really wish a Burnout Paradise 2 came out that was the same level of quality. I know Need for Speed was supposed to be kind of like Need for Speed Most Wanted was supposed to be like basically Burnout Paradise, but it just did not live up to the same hype. Burnout Paradise is awesome, and if you want one driving game for last generation to really remember it by, it's Burnout Paradise. Number 7 on the list, Fallout 3. Probably the first and last Bethesda game that I ever completed. It was just a marvel to go through that world. It was just something unique. It wasn't caves and forests and, you know, same crap in every Elder Scrolls game and a lot of open world games. It was just really cool to see all of like the 50s and 60s and all that crazy ragtime era stuff just like spread around the world. It was just you were just curious what stuff looked like in general, and then it was like all destroyed. It had like this great art direction, and the exploring was just awesome. And I didn't even barely touch the tip of the surface on that stuff, so I didn't even get half of the achievements in that game, but I had fun. And the combat system was cool. I just loved the VAT system, just getting right up into people's faces with like shotguns and just exploding heads and shit. It was just awesome, man. The story was cool. I just got really deep into that world. Fallout 3, the absolute best like open world like RPG type game that I played last generation. Or is it? Of that type, okay. So it's of that type. You already know what number 1 is. Come on, guys. Who am I? Come on. Anyway. So, number 6 is a game that was both one of my most disappointing games and one of my favorite games of this past generation. It's Crysis 2. I really liked everything about this game. The single player and the multiplayer. I love the multiplayer. I was a beast at multiplayer. Getting scores like 23 and 2 and stuff. That was like normal scores for me. I was just so good at that game. But it had 2 main problems, man. It had so many glitches and so many problems with the net coding and stuff, and people begged Crytek to fix it, and they just never did. They just didn't care. So that was the most disappointing thing. They just never fixed the game. And if that game was running at optimal stuff, like just had the support and it was all clean and crisp and good to go, it could have honestly overtook Call of Duty. It was so good. People just loved it, but just couldn't do it. And the other thing that was disappointing was it just died out, man. It's for the same, it goes hand in hand, but it just died out, so there just wasn't people to play with. So by the time all the DLC came out, I bought all the DLC, but people had like a very short window to play it before just the community gave up on the game, you know. But yeah, Crysis 2, I really liked it. One of the best shooters I ever played, multiplayer-wise. It's just fun as hell. Number 5, Left 4 Dead 2, one of the best co-op games for shooting like that there is. Really fun. The levels are just awesome. The characters are great. The environments are just awesome to go through. It wasn't just dark office buildings like the first game. There was like carnivals and there was just like swamps and all this crazy stuff you could go through that was just, it just was really awesome. The graphics were a lot better than the first game. It had dismemberment, and it just had new modes like the scavenge mode where you had to collect 15 gas cans to win or shut the other team out or whatever. And it just had a lot of stuff, and the melee weapons really made that game for me too. So definitely probably the best co-op game shooter wise that you can get. That's all I have to say about that. Alright, so number 4, one of the coolest games, most unique games that I've seen in a while, BioShock Infinite, number 4. BioShock Infinite had just this crazy storyline that was really mysterious and really left you questioning things by the end, and it was a cool story to figure out. And the game itself was really cool. It had this unique like thing where you could ride on skylines and shoot people. Like the skylines were like roller coasters, and you had like a hook and you were like going around on them. And it had like all these different powers you could get. You could mix them together. It was kind of like the first BioShock. But I like the powers better in this one, and the weapons were better in this one. The guns felt better. They didn't feel perfect, but they felt a hell of a lot better than the first game. And so the game was just fun to play. It was cool to look at. The story was great, and one of the best narrative games of the past generation for sure. Number 3 is the only shooter game that I have on here that's mainly focused for the multiplayer. Besides, I mean, Crysis 2 had a really good single player, but this is mostly for the multiplayer. Black Ops 2. And also be like, oh, Call of Duty, okay, stupid newbie, like, he doesn't know, he's a casual gamer. But Black Ops 2, the reason that it's on my list is not only was it a great multiplayer shooter, but I liked the zombies mode in this one. I had the season pass, and the zombies, every DLC zombies map that came out for the game, it got better and better. First one was the Nuketown Zombies mode, which was the first zombies. I honestly didn't really like the zombies too much in past Call of Duty games, but Black Ops 2, the Nuketown map that they did was really cool. It was just, I mean, you obviously can't win, right? It's a survival, but it was just really fun, and I really got how to handle that map for the most part. And then after that was Die Rise, which was like this big vertical building, and you had to try to make your way through it, and you could actually do a lot of cool stuff. There was a lot of cool places to hold out, and it was just really fun to traverse. It was really interesting. It was like this building that kind of had like the power was kind of screwed up, and you had to get it on. You could like ride the elevators up and down. It was just really cool. And then after that they had I believe it was, I don't know what it was called, but it was the one with the mafia in the jail. It was like the Alcatraz mission, and you could actually beat that one technically. I mean, it would kind of keep cycling, but you can kind of beat it. And it was so tricky the first time you did it that once you finally beat the Alcatraz thing, you were like, oh, this is really cool. Like, we did it. Like, you felt a good accomplishment. And then you could keep going, and then there was an achievement for doing it 3 times in a row, and we got that one. And it was just cool. And all the other DLC ones that came out, they were just really fun. So that's why it's on this list. I played the hell out of the zombies. I loved it. Multiplayer was really good. It was a good change in a better direction. Modern Warfare 3 kind of sucked. So I still play Black Ops 2. I still think it's the best in the series. I played them all. So number 2 on the list, Grand Theft Auto 4. Not 5. I wasn't a big fan of 5. Didn't really like the story or characters. Didn't really think that the online lived up to the hype. But 4, really liked the story. I really liked the New York City. Like I know it's been done before, but I really liked it. The online was really fun. I felt like it was more challenging to I don't know, it's just fun. It's more fun for me. I really like playing that game with friends, and I still could play that game any day over 5, and just any day over a lot of games. It's one of my favorite games. The story was just awesome. By the time you beat it, it was just kind of like made you think. Like, it was one of those games, when I had this game, the single player, I played it one of the first days. I played it for like 15 hours straight. I was just so hooked on it. It actually red ringed my Xbox, and I bought it on the PS3, because I had the Xbox 360 and the PS3. When my Xbox broke and I had to send it out for repairs, I bought the game on the PS3 and beat it through again so I could see it through to the end, because I loved it so much. And I've never even beat a Grand Theft Auto, really, besides San Andreas, so it was that good for me. Definitely my favorite Grand Theft Auto, and definitely a second best game of the generation. But, of course, it's me. Number 1 best game of the generation for me is Dark Souls. Yes, Dark Souls. Dark Souls, prepare to die. I played the crap out of this game, hundreds and hundreds of hours, dude. I played so many characters, got totally into the PvP. Game's just this awesome open world, like adult Zelda game, basically. If From Software could make a Zelda game like this, it'd be the best Zelda ever, because it's basically the Zelda game. That's not a Zelda game. It's just open world. It's really challenging, but it's fair. Tons of stuff to explore, tons of secrets. You could play co-op, you could play versus, you get people invade your game and kill you, and it's just a thrill ride, man. I just love it. I bought it on the 360, bought it on the PS3, bought it on the PC. I had to have it on every platform just so I could get it every way you could, just PvP with everybody, and just seeing it with the best graphics on the PC, and etc., etc. Really hyped for the second game coming out in a couple months. Hoping it lives up to the hype. I mean, I don't know how it could be as good or even half as good as the first game, but I'm hoping. But it's definitely my favorite game. Like, it's just a game that I think everybody should at least try and give it a shot. And if you die and you get frustrated and you want to throw it in the garbage, give it some more time, play with a friend. Once you actually get past the beginning hump, if you're like a hardcore gamer, it'll click and you'll really like the game, I guarantee you. So that's my list. Game of the Year 2013, Legend of Zelda: A Link Between Worlds. Best game of the generation, past generation, Dark Souls. So I've been 8-Bit Warrior, and this has been my video. Hope you enjoy, and we will see you next time.